Good morning and welcome to Activity 1.1.1 Introduction to Android Development. Today we're going to go over several things, and I apologize, I'm dressed pretty casual. I'm in here on a Sunday trying to get ready for the week, so forgive me if I'm in casual attire, but I think it's kind of fun when you know this is what we do on the weekend too. Okay, we're going to start with Introduction to Android Development. And you can read the opening paragraph here. It talks about Java and Java language. We're transitioning now from last year, you learned about Python. Now you're going to learn about Java. And it talks about Java programs run on any computer in the world. And it sounds maybe simplified, like it's a simple fact, but it really is cool. You know that different operating systems on different computers often require different code. Like we're coding in Android development. But if you had a Mac, for instance, or you wanted to make an app that worked on an iPhone, you would need to run it on iOS system. So there is some differences here, but we're going to talk about that. With a special piece of software called the Java Virtual Machine, or JVM, I like how the system now has it when you click on the three dots. It actually tells you a JVM is software that allows a Java program to run on a wide variety of operating systems. So please read this information and make sure and know what it's talking about. All lower level issues with the operating system are taken care of. So any computer with a JVM can run any Java program. That's why it's so popular and why it's so widespread. The Android operating system, the JVM, is built into it. In this way, the JVM hides or uses abstraction, which is hiding data or details, to conceal low-level details of the operating system from the Java program and therefore from the programmer as well. Okay, we've got some details here farther down. We've got your computers ready to go. BlueJ, so right now, open up BlueJ and get ready to go through some things. Right here, there's a reference card, and if we click on that, these are really helpful. The reference card shows some differences between Java and Python. What you programmed in last year was Python. Now in Java, statements end with a semicolon. Do you remember what statements ended in Python last year? A colon, right. Variable initialization must begin with either a primitive type or a reference type. And when it says some of these vocabulary words, I know right now it probably doesn't mean much to you, but we're going to learn this vocabulary. It means you have to determine, am I going to use an integer, a whole number? Am I going to use a decimal point? Will that need to be a double? Is it going to be a string? You have to determine before you write your code what kind of reference type it is. And in Java, functions are instead called methods. And blocks of code are enclosed in what we call curly braces. They look like this right here. Okay? Rather than being indicated by indentation level. So this becomes really important. I love this. I call it a little cheat sheet. It's a reference guide. Examples of common Java usage. Like say you want to, first time you're coding, you want to declare a variable named x. And it's a primitive type called integer. It's going to be a whole number. Integer x, semicolon. So if you really were going to do that in real terms, you might say you want to initialize x to be 10. You would type in x equals 10 in BlueJ, okay? If you want to call the print line, in other words, you want something to print out, you would do it system.out. And what it might really look like if you wanted to display the results of x would be system.out.println, and then x is in the parentheses, semicolon. That will print out whatever the value of x is. If you wanted to do a label of string, it would be string label, semicolon. All of these are wonderful ways to reference when we start writing code. If you want to know, how do I write this? Here's a wonderful cheat sheet to help you know how to write some if statements, how to write a while, a for, and how to do an array. Assign the value 5 to the first element in my array. This is what it would look like. If you want to initialize an array, my array 2, use an initialization list. This is what it would look like. And if you want to display every element in my array 2, using a for each loop, this is what the code would look like. So please refer back to this so that you can use it as a reference card. It's a great tool. Okay, so here's the procedure. We're going to begin learning Java using the IDE, BlueJ, and we're going to provide an editor to edit the files in your project, organize the project files, compile your code, which is basically running it, and then converting it to a machine language the computer can process. Then it's going to run the program. Okay, here's how we start Hello World. The first program a programmer writes is often one that simply says, hello to the world. You've done this last year in Python. In this part of the activity, you're going to write a simple Hello World Java program to help you get familiar with programming in Java and BlueJ. Okay, so we're going to first look at here. It says before you start writing a program, create a place to store the program files. Create a folder called BlueJ Projects. And it says your teacher will tell you where to create this folder. I created it. I went to my files. Oh, and this is definitely not my files. Okay, here's my file folder. And I went down here to my C drive. And I'm in BlueJ. Here's Android. There's my BlueJ. Okay, we need to figure out where you placed BlueJ. My BlueJ is here, but we'll see. Sometimes some of you are in users, and then your name, and then let's see if I've got BlueJ projects. There's Android Studio projects. I just had it as BlueJ, and then here's a whole bunch of my projects. Okay, so I did it too. I went on the C drive. I'm going to do this again. C drive, users, your name. This is my name, but your name or your code. And then you can make a folder right here, like I have an Android Studio Projects one. You can make one called BlueJ Projects. You see back here in your instructions, it said make a folder called BlueJ Projects, just like this on number 1. You're going to make a folder here, new folder, BlueJ Projects. Okay, now we've got our BlueJ projects. It says start the BlueJ IDE, and you all should have that now. It says when you first start BlueJ, you will not have a project or any files to look at, but you can set up a useful tool to number the lines of your source code from the project window. Tools preference. Okay, we'll get to that. Let's just start up BlueJ. So I'm going to go to my start window, and here's BlueJ, and I'm going to click on it. Okay, when BlueJ first opens, I've got a project. You shouldn't have one. So I'm going to close my project so I can start a new one. Now, it said, let's set up the window. So it gave instructions. I'm just going to move this over here. Tools, Preferences. Hide this. Tools, Preferences. Check the box, Display Line Numbers. It's right here. If yours is not checked, check it so that we'll have line numbers on it. Okay. Now it says to begin your first project, select Project, New Project. The New Project dialog box appears, and then in the New Project dialog, navigate to your BlueJ Projects folder. So Project, New Project. And now we want to make sure that we're in our folder we just created. You can see I've got, if you went to C drive, and then users, your name or number, and then that new folder we made, BlueJ Projects. Okay, that's where it's going to store it. And now if I come back here, it should say project, new project. The new project dialog, navigate to your BlueJ folder, BlueJ projects folder. All projects are organized by folders. Name this project and this folder Hello World. So in the folder name text box, enter Hello World, and then we're going to say create. So Hello World and create. Notice there are no spaces in this project name, and the first letters of each word are capitalized. This is called camel case. A convention for naming variables that capitalizes the first letter of every word. You remember that from last year, but just reminding you. Because the uppercase letters seem to form the humps of a camel, using the camel case is common practice. Create your new project, click create, and you did that. An empty project is created in BlueJ. To start writing code, click new class. And remember here, a class is a collection of code that serves a common purpose. So in new class, and we're going to name your class Hello World. So new class Hello World. And okay. All right, good start. To open the editor for the class, either double click it or select the right-click menu item and say Open Editor. Pretty easy to do. We just get on it and double-click it. There we go. Hey, there's a whole bunch of code already in there for you, isn't there? Okay, if we go back here, an editor window opens with Hello World Java file. It contains default code that BlueJ automatically provides. First few lines are surrounded by a break, asterisk, and asterisk break. These are comments. Anytime you want to comment something out, that's how it's done. It's helpful information about your program, and you're going to want to learn how to write that so that you know what your program is doing. The first real or executable line of code in Hello World Java is public class Hello World. It is followed by an open curly brace. This curly brace and the closed curly brace at the very end of the file will contain all the code that you are going to write. BlueJ created default code in your class, but you will not be using it for this project. So in the comments, replace your name with your name and replace a version number or a date with today's date. We're going to do the date. So we're going to write in here, you can see in our notes, Carol Kincaid put her name here, and this was the date when she created it. What we're going to do is put your name in here and today's date, which this should be August 21st. So we're going to go back here to our code, author, and my date is August 21st. Or you know what? Easier just to go, whoops, 8/21/17. Public class Hello World. Now, does this look like your notes here? Yes. All this other stuff between the two curly braces, we don't really need. So we're going to go into our BlueJ. And we're going to get rid of this stuff. We don't need it. And even this, if you don't want it, instance variables replace the example below with your own, blah, blah, blah. You don't need this. Okay? We need public class Hello World. And that's it. All this stuff down here, we don't really need any of that. So let's just get rid of it.